Hey everyone, it's your favorite CEO, Miss Flo, and welcome to another episode of Neon Mike where the conversation just glows. Y'all, I just keep running into some of the most amazing people on the planet through Instagram. It is a true gift. I have a very special guest who is an amazing author with a degree in psychology and a master's degree in elementary education, a former teacher, now turned author. And oh my God, it's doing just like so much. Please introduce yourself to the public.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Rorie Still. It's great to be here on Neon Noir Vibes. We're vibrating together. Uh, yes, definitely was a public school teacher doing all the things that our awesome host named. Also, still an educator and learning specialist. I am now working in the library system and getting ready to come to a Philadelphia library system near you as well. So I'm quite excited about different things. Just excited to be working in the arts. I'm currently working on my vampire novel, which I'm very excited about. It's going to be fusion fiction, which means that it's going to have prose in it, but it's also going to have other writing forms as well. There is a concurrent photo series which is taking place within that world as well, and we are actually pitching one of the characters as a television show now. Uh, that is on the front cover, Teddy Ninja, um, and is in the Flashbang universe. So yes, exciting things, exciting things.
Yes, you're not staying still at all. Like you're definitely moving forward. It was such a delight to read your bio and actually see the progression of Flashbang, which started as like a smaller story, then upgraded to a graphic novel, and now it's going to be an animated series. Like that's truly exciting. Like what is it like for you to see your project or this story to just come so far?
It's an interesting thing. I think sometimes when we're like in the middle of the doing of the thing, we don't. I or I'll we don't. I'll say we, and I also say me. Kind of take time to realize, how far one has come. Because it did start out as a short story actually, and it was dealing with. I'm trying to remember. I think was it the alien one? Yes, dealing with like aliens attacking a concert in the Wachovia Center in Philly. And then I ended up talking to Jay Richardson, the progenitor of J1 Con. He's like, hey, if you put this on a disc, you can end up selling this at a con. So that's ended up how it went from reading it on a CD to making my first edition of Flashbang as an anthology, and then making the second edition. And it's funny. Maybe it's because I just turned 40, like in 2023, but it's catching up to me in the best way possible. I'm realizing like, okay, like when I'm having some doubts about something, I'll go, okay, Rorie, you were doing this here, and you were worried that it wouldn't go this way or it wouldn't lead anywhere or this, and look at where we are now. So hey, feel free to have your feelings and worry now because you're going somewhere even more. So it's I think it's the moment of now that I'm more able to absorb, um realizing where we are, and then the move, moving, or being here in LA. And yeah, no, I think now it's hitting me, like I said, in the best way possible. Yeah.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because when you're in the thick of producing a project, a lot of times like you don't see all the milestones and the successes because
Mhm.
you're always concerned about what's next, what else do I have to do and this and that. But when you finally see like the final project, it's like you could just like take a breath and just like celebrate and just like
Yeah.
really be in that moment and to be really reflective. What I really loved about the biography that you sent me was just really just a great celebration of like all of your accomplishments. Even though you left teaching, you're still teaching, like doing these workshops. How was that transition for you, like working with our little people? to take it to, like, I guess you were working more with adults with the workshops?
Well, actually, no, that's the interesting thing. Although the comic book workshop or the graphic novel building workshop is for it can be for any age. I know I was working with a lot of teen librarians pulled me in this summer to end up doing that. And then like sometimes the parents would come too. So you kind of saw them getting back into that creation station mindset. And they had some really great ideas too. And then talking to this little group of cousins and encouraging them to start their own comic book company. Because if you want to, you're never too young. There are steps you can do it in, you know. And I was like, kind of getting just a sense of their skill set. And I'm like, okay, so you're the money person, you know. And of course, you know, unlike kids songs back in the day, they would need an adult to help and see over it. But I'm still working with young people and really kind of utilizing some of the skills that I learned when I was like more of a classroom teacher to do this as well. There is, in a way, more, you know, now that I am working in my own system, the art creation system, which is, you know, the name of my company. There's a bit more freedom. Of course, the responsibility is, you know, on me, but it's worth it, you know, and like because I actually am now possibly going to be working, not possibly, I'm going to end up working with this private school in the summer to build an animatronic. And it's going to be a STEAM project because, you know, while it's art and we're, you know, creating it, we're going to be doing engineering, we're going to be focusing on anatomy, and it's going to be interesting because the group is going to be you know, or I should say we're pitching that, you know, just to make sure all things are clear, you know. Um yeah, no, we would be working with preschool to fifth grade. So that'll be fun to see to do that again. Because one of the summers when I was teaching, I ended up working with a multi age classroom, and it was exciting, fun. I was very glad to have some assistance with that. And it's funny, we had one little kindergartner, and I think she had a good time, you know, which is for the the really little, you know, the really small people. You want that because like you want their introduction to education to be a good one.
Mhm.
That is funny. That's why, like, you know, I'm out in the streets and I'm chatting to different people. You know, you're always an educator. I don't think that ever goes away, even when you retire or move to another set. To answer your question, there's some similarities because, you know, I'm still working with young people. And then, you know, there's a difference because I get to shape it in a different way. You know, knowing, and sometimes teachers, unfortunately, even though they are very much master crafts people, we are master crafts people, don't get that respect. You know, that okay, you know, I know what I'm doing here, and then let me help with my classroom in the way that's going to let these people enjoy education, you know, and then, you know, be able to gain the skills they need to go off and do their purpose or purposes, you know. So there's some similarities and some differences. The biggest connect is that I enjoy giving them a new skill and seeing them enjoy themselves. We're all having enjoyment. There's always the nervousness too, and I felt this in the classroom as well. Like, okay,
Mhm.
in a way, it's a performance, you know, and maybe that's because, you know, always an artist, right?
Right.
That you want this to come off, but it's funny on the days where like some stuff had fallen out the window were the days where I was like on one in the best way, you know, in the best way possible because I'm like, okay, hey, look, we got to make this work. We went to we went Goldilocks and the Three Bears and we didn't bring any bear bait. What are we going to do? All right, we got to make this happen. Got to make it to lunch. Let's go. So there's still that nervousness a little bit, but it's you know, the preparation is also similar too. You know, you prepare, you do this, and then also in a way, you know, going with the flow too. So to answer your question again, there's some similarities and there's some differences, but those are the similarities and differences.
And I'm glad you talked about like catering to the students' interests. A lot of
Hmm.
times they are, if they don't find it fun or intriguing to them, they'll shut down. They won't really participate
Yeah.
or engage. So
Hmm.
I'm glad that they have programs like yours that
Hmm.
can really hook the students and also teaching them to be like entrepreneurs. I find
Yeah.
like most of the students don't want to just, be workers. They want to work for themselves and build for
Yeah.
themselves. So like I just appreciate what you're doing. In terms of like the animatronics, as soon as you said that, I was just like, oh my God, I hope it's not like a Five Nights at Freddy type scenario. But
uh we'll we'll see. Just kidding. But actually, that'd be for some of these little ones are in horror. You know, like the producers who are siblings that were on the first reintroduction to it. They were watching horror as kids. You know, I personally got scared by Beetlejuice when I saw it, but I will say that that probably helped me be part of the horror writer that I am. You know, so it's that and also watching the 90s cartoon too. I love Beetlejuice now, um but yeah, no, it's to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying. Yeah, no, I really am trying to make sure that we're doing something fun, but maybe for another course that actually is the title, how to build your dragon, or living Pokemon, or Five Nights at Freddy's, but nice. So
that's just so awesome. Now just to go back because we talked about a lot, but I want to focus on your book Flashbang. Can you
mhm.
give us like a brief synopsis of what it's about? And you spoke of being like a horror writer, so like what drew you
Mm.
into that genre?
Hmm. So with Flashbang, sci-fi stories will blow your mind. It is taking place in an alternate universe where just wild things are happening to people. This one gentleman gets cursed who's fighting violent crime in Philadelphia as this vigilante with ninja and ninjutsu and taekwondo and some other things, including Lord, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, but it's some Afro arts and martial arts in there as well too. But all these wild things are happening to people. Like this random person gets blown up into this glue balloon, and like yeah, all that's happening in an alternate universe run by a benevolent trickster goddess. With just she's that super patch commercial. First they're sweet and then they're sour. Strike
Yeah.
that and reverse it. That's her. And the big thing is, like, is everybody gonna be okay by the end of the story? And the way I describe it, since it's an anthology but also taking place in the same universe, is it's a mixture of the Twilight Zone with Animaniacs or Looney Tunes.
Ooh.
Come for the deep, stay for the wacky. So
That's like just to list like all of those influences, like you're definitely like a 90s kid. You know what I mean? Like just to kind of picture it is just like so trippy. Like how are you able to kind of like merge those ideas? Like what made you fall
mhm.
in love with fictional writing?
Wow. It's so much, so much. Definitely being a 90s kid, we were gifted with so much incredible media. I do like the fact that we're making sure I think it did start with us in certain shows, but I'm glad what I'm seeing now is more inclusivity, like across the board. That being said, with the 90s shows, um they were fun. Like somebody was always going off on an adventure, somebody always got an interesting little hat and had to fight. But it all started, perhaps even it started with cartoons, but really the essence of story, I give that kind of to my dad, because like when we were getting ready to go to bed, a lot of times he would tell us these different stories. My parents read to us too, so and then also put me on a reading program when I was in second grade. Like I had to read this many books, but they were interesting, especially like the tale of the five fishermen. That was funny. So like I think I fell in love with funny, in the book, and a lot of our cartoons, they had serious concepts like ecology, Captain Planet. Um, they're actually fighting some terrible villains, as these kids. But like, and also I guess wanting to be empowered, and who doesn't want to be a superhero? A lot of times we were seeing, I think in the 90s, kids about our age, a little older, doing these different things. And then, like I said, I was taking in a lot of good media. For instance, ooh, excuse me. For instance, Star Trek: The Next Generation,
Oh yeah.
excellent, great dialogue, incredible storytelling. Gene Roddenberry was just a mastermind. You know, Having seen some of the Twilight Zone, seeing Beetlejuice in the scary part, and then also seeing how that could have been fun. The Care Bears started off selling cards, you know what I'm saying, and ended up really talking about empathy, talking about, really kind of caring about the world. And just one thing, like I said, there were multiple sources that made me fall in love with fiction, with story, and just with reading in general. I really like reading people's memoirs, and memoirs more so than biographies too. Biographies, but memoirs, because then it's like more personal. I realize I like reading in first person, even though the book I'm currently writing is going to have multiple perspectives and multiple, persona, the multiple perspectives. Because like with Dracula, I kind of made a rule that we're always going to be talking in first person with him. With Eve, we're getting third person, but when she's in our head, it's first person. So I'm gonna see if I want to continue that along. Um, but yeah, I had multiple stories. I had a teacher in second grade who ended up doing what's called learning centers, where you practice a certain skill and try to get essentially a mini goal. So almost like you're LARPing. Um, as you go along. And but to re but she was definitely so when you're teaching, sometimes you have a must do and a may do within your teaching program. And the must do is like, okay, you gotta get the skill to get something else. And a may do is kind of where you have your choice, which is great, right? So she essentially had that when she was doing the learning centers. And you had to pass the math one, and I did. I think you had to really kind of understand number placement, if I'm remembering that correctly. And then I think you got to play with the stuff they use to stick to the boards. I would definitely wanted to get my hands on that. So I did that skill, and then you kind of got to really choose once you finish certain skill sets. So I chose theater, and I ended up writing like a real short play. I was 7, and Little Mermaid had come out, so we were going to be about that Little Mermaid, you know. And I really kind of got a taste of what creating is like, because some of my people stayed, some of my people didn't. Some people didn't show up on the day we were supposed to perform, and then my people forgot their lines, but it was cool. We at least said one line. Boom. Um, and then I also ended up writing my first book in that class too, called Merc and the Vampire Dogs. I have now done a one-page pitch on that too, for when the time is right. Um, which actually I intend to make a pocket universe off the Flashbang universe. But definitely multiple sources really enforce my love of fiction and of, and just reading in general, to be able to go on an adventure, to be able to go on an adventure, because that also was how I always ended up playing with my toys as well too. They were always going on an adventure, and somebody thankfully left this big monster truck at our house during one of the whatever gatherings we had. So then it became mine. They never came back for it. And then I would like pile all the people into the little thing. Somebody got tied up. It was a lot going on. My parents gave me a dollhouse, and we were working in there. A lot of people lived in there. It was a whole dorm situation. Yeah, so a lot of good influences led to my love of story.
That I mean, you just list off like so many things that were also part of my childhood. So it's like so great to like really go back to that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you were just like such a fun elementary school teacher. Like that's the vibe that I'm getting because you're so imaginative.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like teaching like for those 3 years?
It was interesting. It was challenging because you have to, as a young teacher, like I was 28 when I started teaching, and I realized now as a 40-year-old, like you're still learning you before you hit 30. You still are afterwards too. But like it was definitely challenging in making sure to balance the schedules, the timing, the curriculum. I think I was fun, and when I got more comfortable with what I was doing, you know. But we tried to make some things fun. Like when I had more control of the thing, I felt like I was more of the fun person. But when I like I said, when I got to as I continued to grow, I feel like we had more fun. Like, and also what also made a difference in those years that I was teaching was having good coaches and good mentors. Just like on Lord Abington Elementary, having a mentor makes all the difference in the world, whether it is an official one or one you just whose skirts you grabbed onto or pant leg. It's funny. I can't remember the name of the Quinta's character's mentor teacher, But the black lady, but like I had one of those, except for I had a white Irish mother. She lived across the hallway. And I appreciated everything she was teaching me. And yes, it gets real. I was jealous when her biological daughter showed up too. I was like, I understand that. I'm like, just because she gave birth to you, I guess you her daughter. All right, whatever. You know what? You are adorable. You a little redhead. Oh, how cute. Anyway, but and then I had a fabulous black teacher who was given to me by the district, and they need to keep doing that too. And who showed me some methods to do that. And sometimes you always stick with it. Finding out in my 30s, she's neurodiverse. And specifically talking about having ADHD, I now realize why some of those challenges were there too. In fact, one thing I think they need to do is if teachers feel comfortable and if it's safe to disclose that, then you can also get support along with that and be even better of a teacher, But definitely having those mentors helped with the difficulties with that. But I had a determination. Once we had taught all the curricula that we could teach before school ended, I said, we're gonna do a play. We're gonna do the whiz, we're gonna do the whiz, we're gonna do the whiz. And then like I actually bought out this book that showed how to do like a play, and then we did a court case, and it was the Cinder Evil versus the Step Goods. So
Aw.
that was interesting. But you got to really kind of, kids will get very much into it, so you got to make sure you got some boundaries in there too. But we did that. And then one time when I was teaching, how to test or the test taking thing, once we finished that, we were kind of working on a commercial that the kids can film, and we got permission slips and all that. And then I'm trying to remember what else. I was very happy whenever I could teach fiction or writing. The young people really enjoyed when we ended up playing those math games. So now I'm working for the library. I'm trying to figure out how to, and do a writing and math inclusive thing. I also figured something else out as, a learning specialist. One thing I want to do, and this might be me writing for a government grant, maybe even pairing with a nonprofit, is making those difficult subjects graphic novels, because a lot of young people
Mhm.
are visual learners. So that's something I'm going to end up looking at it in the future, either creating the project, writing that up, pitching it, or making sure I join in with that so I could be the one, doing those graphic novels. So imagine for the little, really young ones, that's going to be picture books. But we could run this all the way up to grad school. But in those 3 years, they taught me a lot of things, understanding how kids learn, understanding how I learned and how I could be a better teacher. Just how I was thinking, how the children were just metacognizing, or how they thought about how they were thinking about something, that they really like certain things. Like, and I always, you're right, I always tried to make what could have been a boring lesson interesting. So we had to do a nonfiction report. So I was like, you know what, animals. We all love animals, let's do animals. So I got all these Latin, but like I said, it's keeping up with stuff. Got all these library books, and we found out that what did we find out? That what is that little lightning bug, some of them don't eat or drink water. Whoa, where are they getting that nourishment from, right? So whenever you're teaching kids, you're always learning something, and sometimes you're learning something along with these young people. In fact, so I ended up doing a lesson, because like you could work certain standards certain times of the year, and that and I ended up having them do haikus, and my babies did great. It was the fourth grade. And that was we ended up doing that, and I was like, okay, I understand how to write a haiku. This is how we're going to write Teddy Ninja. This is how we're writing the story. So I ended up doing that, and that is how Teddy Ninja ended up getting written. Once I understood how to teach it, I understood how to do it. So I just kind of folded it in with, as a teaching artist, as what I was doing. So my young people were very inspirational. It's sometimes you get in your head a bit too much when you teach kids. That goes out the window. You got something to focus on. You have these young people who are challenging you each day to, complete it. And then like just it was good to get to know these nice young people. My kids would come to help me with stuff, or would ask to help with stuff. And now like I appreciate, as a person who is trying to, like, okay, we have to do this. I appreciate them coming and taking their free time to do it. It was a lot. It was a lot came out of that. Learning about people, learning about, becoming a better artist, and then just learning how to work with people too. So that's really what those, 3 years definitely benefited me.
Yes, and I agree with you said, like, in terms of, like, to better assist teachers in terms of, like, if they're neurodivergent or, like,
Hmm.
on the spectrum in some type of way, and how that you would also accommodate students with just providing, like, a graphic novel. Because a lot of times the text can be, like, very dense, um,
Yes.
and then we understand, like, reading in terms of, like, literacy, not everybody is on grade level.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be,
Exactly.
like, transparent about that, but we still be able to want to, like, showcase a skill, so what is, like, the in between or a nice compromise is just have, like, this visual piece so that our stars can grow in other areas and not be, hindered because of this, one weakness.
Yes, and if we can make sure, I know that for special ed, you're going to end up getting pullouts, but we're also looking at what can we do in classroom. Now, when you have a teacher having 30 students without an assistant, that is beyond challenging, and that needs to definitely they need to follow through on that promise they had a couple times with whoever's running the school district of making sure maybe you only have 14 in there. That's for the kid. That's for the both of everybody's benefit in that classroom you
Mhm.
know, especially since the teacher and the students might be neurodivergent. We got to make sure everybody is succeeding because we're building people for society. I know originally, you see these different things like, oh, they meant to make them factory workers. Yeah, so let's curb and change that up a little bit. You know, and you're absolutely right, especially in the economy in which we're seeing. It is best to help build business people, and also making sure that in their building that business, making sure it's fair and that they're making sure both their consumers that they're benefiting, but also their consumers are benefiting at the highest level. So it's very important. Yes, let's support neurodivergent teachers. So because you did it, you do that support, that might be your teacher of the year, and that's just the honest truth.
Mm,
Because we think outside the box. Sometimes we don't even know where the box went on more than one level.
yeah.
It we're going to be the ones that are going to push things. We couldn't be the ones. There's other people who are neurodivergent can do it too. But I think we have a really good shot of pushing how to educate forward even more. So it's yeah, support everybody.
You touched on, like, so many things, like, as an educator, but what made you want to leave education and become, like, a full-time novelist or writer?
I think it's something I think it's something I always wanted. It was something that was always interesting to me, and then I don't think it ever was not with me, but ah well, I ended up having to step out of the school district, and and it's funny, sometimes your dream for you is later than like the moment God's going to give you, and that, he, she, or they have for you. And I was teaching, what was it, sixth grade? That was a little bit of a rough period, more than one way. But uh, yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, and then I was like, no, I'm gonna just become better here, and I'm totally gonna leave and focus on screenwriting in like 4 years. Well, different plan. Man plans and God acts. So I ended up stepping out. That definitely was a push, but it's funny. I realized I made a decision in what I was going to do because I had to do a teaching thing, or I could, make it the first time I was selling my book. I chose to go sell my book. So I realized at that point I was definitely maybe more ready to break into this, other part of the career. I'm glad I don't have to choose between the two right now because, I'm enjoying planning for teaching and I'm really enjoying planning for art too, and I'm glad I get to do them both. Yeah, but that honestly was the shove of how we ended up over here. But also, I realized it's kind of like the hero's journey. I realized in making that choice, that definitely was a threshold decision.
I completely understand. Me as an educator, there are a lot of challenges when you don't have the proper support. You still want to work with young people because They're absolutely great, and you wanna like, it's exciting to show them a new skill and to unlock something within themselves, but it's a very rough job. Um, and so like I totally get like and understand like why you would make that transition. And then now Flashbang is about to be an animated series, and then now you're doing Dracula. Like how are you going to put a fresh spin? Because Dracula is like a very classic horror character. How are you going to kind of make him your own?
Well, so the title of the book is going to be called Dracula More Than Blood, and it's about he is involved in it. It's about it might be about both of them, but it's about his femme descendant Eve and her finding out about her heritage and having to learn how to take her place as his Sion, as his next in line, all the while the alternate city of Philadelphia is sitting on a political hotbed in the predator natural community, where and Dracula's trying to fix it, and with her reject allies, later her lovers, she has to approach the throne while dealing with all this craziness and also just understanding herself as well. Also, did I mention that there's a murder that has to be that there appears to be a serial killer loose?
Ooh.
Yeah, that's killing vampires and training like her.
Oh wow.
Mm,
I see. I see what you're doing there. That's
yeah,
nice.
yes, yes. Thank you, thank you.
So, what is your next step going forward with any of your endeavors?
Well, let's see. So we're continuously working on the novel. I did Lord just blessed me to run into the fabulous model for the photo series, who also has a martial arts background, so we can get her to do a jump kick in the air. I'm like, yes. Um, Let me see what else. We're doing that. We're doing that. Jesus is, the if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing, there's going to be not room enough to receive it. Oh, we're definitely having that now. A lot of workshops have come through the door either through my pitching it or people, and also some new writing opportunities as well too. So and also new book placements. So I'm just working those like kind of one at a time, but also making sure I'm keeping the pitching for the television series first, and then just kind of working some paperwork that has to deal with that. So that's essentially what we're doing. That, and I'm planning on my 40th birthday party. Uh,
Oh, yay!
Oh, thank you. I'm gonna be 41 this year, but doggone it, I'm gonna celebrate it this year. Um, and I'll still be 40 when it happens. So like, the first time will be like little family reunion slash barbecue slash friend reunion at this place, and I'll be talking to somebody tomorrow. And then the evening portion, I intend to make that more of an event and a literary exhibition where we will be bringing a party that happens early in the novel to life. So,
Wow,
um,
that's really that's smart. That's a smart move.
and manifesting this, we have some work to do on it. Possibly having it at the Franklin Institute.
That you know what? I commend you so much because like this is you I mean, you're doing a lot. Congratulations on all of your endeavors.
Thank you.
If you're watching this, go ahead and get Flashbang. Look out for is Dracula out now or are you still writing that?
I'm still in the midst of writing it, but we're going to put it out there. So, yes.
All right, so where can they find you? Where can they get your work?
Okay. So with the anthology, you can end up purchasing it off some retailer websites like I think where let's so I believe Walmart. I think you can get it on there. You can get it off Amazon. This is the anthology. You can also end up purchasing it if you live in LA. It is at four Barnes and Nobles right now. It is over at the Americana, the Grove. It is also over at the Barnes and Noble in Calabasas, and then it's also at the Barnes and Noble over in Studio City. And if you end up going in the Barnes and Noble, there's a second book there that I co-wrote with my co-author Ilya Madison, and that is a middle grade and up book, and it's called Hidden Melody. Look for the one with nothing on the spine, but I'm about to change that too. That's gonna
Oh,
I'm a, kind of hit that with my visual arts, which I'm working on now. Um, and then you also can, if you're looking for free 99, because you can't buy. Let me help some folks out with that too. If you live in the LA, live in LA or honestly in California, you can end up getting the book in the library system. Same for Philadelphia. And the goal, I have to see if we're going to do this year, but the goal is also to get it in the library system for New York. But here's the fun secret. You can be, I guess, anywhere in the US and get the book out of the library system. You also can go into your local Barnes and Noble and also ask to order Flashbang as well too, even though it may not be on the shelf yet. Um, and then for the graphic novel, again, if you're in the LA area, you can end up purchasing it from Mega City One, or there's one copy left. You can end up purchasing it from Comics versus Toys. You can also end up purchasing it off the website of my printer. And if you go to my Instagram, Roar STLL, you'll end up seeing my link tree, and you can just click on there and end up getting that. And you'll end up seeing the soundtrack too for the book.
Thank you so much. See how you guys glowed from that conversation? I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.
Bye bye.